All right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero with this week's weather podcast. So, we are going to be seeing some interesting things with the tropics. So, I'm mostly going to focus on the tropics and how that would affect us with some of the forecast models. My battery on the computer is running a little bit low, so I'm going to try and do this fairly quickly. So, let's get this down here. So, let's start by taking a look at the satellite. So right here by us in the tri-state, that is Jose, kind of slowly falling apart. And then right over here, this is Maria. And you can see Maria just popped up another eye, so it's strengthening a little bit as it got out of Puerto Rico. It's getting back into the warm ocean, so it looks like it should be strengthening a little bit more. Now, the one interesting thing with Maria is the radar. So this radar I'm going to show you is not live. This is from about 5:30 this morning, the last time the radar in Puerto Rico was recording. And this is very impressive for a hurricane radar. You can see a very well-defined eye and almost an eye within an eye on there. So that means it was very strong just before it hit landfall. Not sure if you could see at the very top right corner there. This is showing between about 4:50 and 5:50 this morning. After that point, the radar station either was knocked offline or that's when power started failing, because over all of Puerto Rico right now, there's no power. So it looks like that's the last time that the radar was picking up data, but still, this is a very impressive image with a hurricane hitting right over Puerto Rico. So I'm half Puerto Rican and I do have family down there, and we're trying to reach out and kind of make sure everybody is safe. And if you know anybody down there, I would definitely do that too. Because even though this is not live, let me pull up the live again. So live satellite is showing the eye, and the worst of it is heading out, and we're starting to see a little bit of clearing on the back end of Maria there as it heads back out into the Atlantic. So what are the forecast models showing? Well, first, let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center. So Tropical Storm Jose, that's what it's at right now. This is as of the 5 p.m. update. Let me scroll down here. It looks like we have sustained winds. Where is that? There we go. Sustained winds right here of about 60 knots or 70 miles per hour. And the forecast track, as you saw there, let me bring that up again. It's pretty much just staying right in this area for another week and going to pretty much slowly die off in that same spot. Then Maria on some of the forecast models kind of heads up into the same area again, but there's a high pressure pretty much coming down from Canada, just crossing over into the US, and that is a strong high pressure. That's what I've been forecasting, that this high pressure will be strong enough to keep both Jose and Maria at bay, so we really won't see that many effects. So let's start off. Let me check battery. Go ahead, 3% battery, so let's see how this goes. So very quickly here, this is the GFS. That is Jose right there. And we're going to be fast forwarding here. Jose kind of just dies off in place, and you can see that strong high right there. And then as Maria comes up, that high's still pretty much there. And then this is another system that's going to be coming through, not related to anything tropical. That's just a regular, what we call a synoptic scale weather event, kind of like a continent size. So that's the regular thing that will be going through, and that high will pretty much be keeping Maria at bay, although Maria looks like it's going to be intensifying as it starts making that northerly turn again. And then it kind of gets pushed or pulled, depending on your perspective, by this cold front here, right back out. And then this is actually next Friday, not this Friday, a week from this Friday. So it doesn't look like on the GFS, either of these forecasts or either of these tropical systems are really going to be affecting us. And the high pressure looks like it's going to be in place almost all weekend. So it's going to be giving us fairly nice weather. Now, the European, this is a different look. This is not precipitation. This is what's called 500 millibar height tendencies. So this is, you can still kind of see the hurricane there though. So we have Jose there. And that kind of just dies off in place like the GFS. Maria comes up, and it's still not coming into our area too much, just because the lighter here, these are higher heights, which typically means high pressure. So this is still showing fairly decent high pressure that kind of keeps Maria at bay. Next here, this is the Canadian model. And 2%, let's see if we get this going here. So that's Jose. Kind of stays in place. The Canadian kind of has it come a little bit more onshore. High pressure still there, so it's not coming fully onshore, but could see some little bands here. And this time is Saturday morning. Again, the Canadian is not one of my favorite forecast models because it's probably one of the least accurate, I would say. And then when we look at Maria, this has it making landfall right over the Carolinas, maybe going into Virginia a little bit. So that's showing the highs not as strong, so it's allowing both Jose to make a little bit more of a westerly approach and Maria to also be making a little bit more of a westerly approach, but a southerly and westerly approach. So it won't be making an impact near us, but some of the Carolinas, and then we could see some of these outer bands. That's what the Canadian says, so I'm not really emphasizing the Canadian too much. The next one here, the NAM. The NAM doesn't go out that far, but I still want to show you. So Jose is right there, kind of just stays in place and slowly dies off. That high pressure is pretty strong. You see it's kind of oval shaped too. That's why that H is jumping around a little bit there. It's strong just like the Euro and the GFS and just dies off there. But this is as far as the NAM goes out, so it doesn't have enough time to bring Maria up into our area. And the last one I want to show you, this is from the Watson supercomputer from IBM. It's called their Deep Thunder project. So this is Jose right there, and I'm just going to hit the play button. So Jose kind of just spins around out there. It's slowly just kind of staying in put because the high pressure is still strong and kind of keeps Jose at bay. And then by that time, it starts to lose energy. And then this is next week, going into next week on Saturday. Or this weekend for Saturday, sorry. We're still seeing fairly nice weather here because that high is so strong. Now we're going into next week because this is a very intense forecast model here. So this is showing that was as far as it went there. Let me go back. That is Jose there. Now that's Maria. It's interesting seeing the beginning and the forecast of that and the end of that forecast model. They look very similar between Jose and Maria. So with Maria coming up, it again doesn't go out as far as the GFS and the European, but it's still showing the same thing by the end of the forecast model. This high pressure is strong, and that's what I've been thinking with all the experience I have just by seeing these before. The high pressure will be strong enough to keep these tropical systems at bay, and there goes the feed. So there's just a blue screen there. I don't think I have anything else for right now, but I'll just finish up by saying it looks like the high pressure is going to be very strong, and it's going to be giving us fairly nice weather pretty much end of Friday going into the weekend. Going to be giving us some mix of sun and clouds, but nothing really in terms of precipitation. Maybe a little bit of wind that we would see coming up from the tropical systems, but nothing really too much. And then by the time we get to next week, when Maria starts making its approach, it's going to be a repeat of the same thing where we are seeing the high pressure still in place, which is very good, and it's going to be kind of pushing Maria at bay, and it's going to be kind of a same situation with both Maria and Jose, where they're not really going to be affecting us. The high pressure is our friend for this week, and it's going to be pushing those two tropical systems out and not really giving us an effect from it, in the Northeast at least. So that's very good. We're very busy on the planet. We have earthquakes, we have wildfires, we have hurricanes. It's almost like the end of the world is coming. I hope not, but there's a lot of things that Mother Nature is throwing at us right now. So again, I do apologize that the computer died on me and just left me with nothing for a background. But I just, again, wanted to give you guys this weather podcast to get out there. At least we got to see some of the forecast models to show that we're not really going to be having that much of an effect. And again, that Canadian, which was showing both Jose coming into our area a little bit and Maria making landfall in the Carolinas area, that Canadian I really don't trust too much. The Canadian's from my experience, one of the least reliable forecast models, at least with tropical systems. The Euro is one of the most reliable, so it tends to be fairly good. So the Euro, the GFS, the NAM, and IBM's private supercomputer, a Watson supercomputer forecast model, the Deep Thunder project, they were all fairly in agreement with each other, showing that high pressure will be strong and keeping those tropical systems at bay. So this is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Again, sorry for no background because my computer feed died down there with no battery, but just wanted to get that weather podcast out there. Tune in next week and I'll have these weather podcasts coming, and also I'll be having some interesting videos coming up. I am kind of changing medically, and I'm going to have an interesting video explaining how technically I've become a cyborg now. So have a great night, everybody, and enjoy the nice weather it looks like we're going to have for this weekend.